Welcome to PHP Podcast. I'm Mike.
This is Orlando, and we're on episode 282.
Yeah, 282.
An update episode.
Yeah, an update episode. And we love our update episodes because it's our opportunity to tell you what's going on in our reselling life, in the reselling community as a whole, and then to go through some Bolos and kind of what we're looking forward to, in reselling. So make sure you stick through all of the segments because we got a lot of important topics we're going to talk about today, and we got some great Bolos for you.
Yeah, make sure to smash that like button even before we started because we know you're going to enjoy this. And leave a comment below if there's anything you disagree, anything you agree with. Always appreciate the comments. Helps us out in the algorithm search, so greatly appreciate that. And so I got to tell you, Mike's pretty live for this episode.
Yeah. I've taken a few weeks. Yeah. It's been more than a few weeks. So I've taken like, it's been a while. My diet and my exercise has been like all messed up just because the fifth wheel situation and, life stuff and circumstances. And it's easy to give up on certain things and it's hard to get back in the flow. But you get to a point where you do some self-reflection. You're like, I'm tired of feeling like crap. I'm tired of eating like crap and stress eating. I'm tired of kind of just, moping around. And I'm like, so I've been going back to the gym. I've been eating right. And so I'm feeling a lot better and really pumped about reselling in general, getting this podcast going. And so, yeah. But along those lines, man, still trying to sell that fifth wheel. Oh, it's brutal. Like I tell you what, like
we should play like the never ending story.
Really. Yeah. I'm not going to bore anybody too long on this, but man, it's tough. Like and the hardest part is seeing so many other people that we know who've sold big items like this, other fifth wheels, RVs, big things, and they're selling like instantly. And we run into issue after issue after issue with trying to sell. And so I think I've come to a place where like I've just recognized, okay, I'm going to be giving up some weekend showing it. There's going to be time I'm wasting on this, but I can no longer just keep putting my reselling on hold because of it. Mm-hmm. I've got to start moving forward. Like, how like you get to a place in life where it's okay to mourn, you know what I mean? Like something bad happens and so you mourn for a while, or like a big life event happens and you're like, okay, I need to put certain things on pause so that I can, kind of decompress or take care of these things. But if that thing continues for a long enough period of time, you almost got to get to a place where you're like, okay, like life has to go back to normal at some point. Like I have to keep going. So, and like along those lines, so not only we have that fifth wheel stuff, but, just this last week, my son was visiting family. So he was visiting his cousins. And so he flew with his grandparents. And then my wife had a death in the family. And so my son's grandparents, so my wife's parents and my wife all had to fly to Michigan. But my son was in another state. He was in Nebraska. So we had to figure out how to get him to Colorado so he can be with my mom. And then so it was kind of like this whirlwind of stuff going on, trying to figure out plane tickets and all of this. And so we actually ended up using the eBay vacation mode. Because it was, in the past, we would just put, okay, let's put on a 5-day handling time just because, it's going to be tough for just me when I'm working super late and I've got, other things going on. If we have sales coming in, they're going to be late. And so instead of pushing back like our handling time by a lot, we're like, let's just try this vacation mode thing, the new updates that they've done. And it was listeners who told us about this actually. And the new setup is you can tell people when you're going to come back. And so I looked at some of my items and like it says right at the top, like this seller is currently away until such and such a date. You can expect delays in shipping, right? So It was kind of cool to see that, but we still had sales come through. And so it was nice to have a sale come through and be like, all right, man, I got 3 days. Like I don't have to worry about like, I got home late. I don't have to worry about rushing down.
You don't have to message them. That's the big thing I've always had to do.
Yeah, exactly. It's all taken care of. It sends like you can actually put in there when you set up the vacation mode a generic message to go out to anybody.
Oh, that's great.
So there's a lot of
time saver.
It's some cool features for that. So we use that and sales were coming.
It's been around for like a year, but and that's my bad because
new feature for us.
Yeah. I mean, I just never until I said it. And then this is why we love doing the podcast because we learn from everyone in the community. And so, yeah, that's great. I mean, I'm glad because now I know what to do when I go away in a little bit. So
no, it's really nice. It was a great function to use. And then also selling a couple of things locally. Like I mentioned my last podcast, we sold some dumbbells. I also sold a bike. And so I still don't know what's going on. Like if there's a big spike in the used fitness stuff, if it's because it's still kind of the beginning of the year and people are getting into things. But I feel like I thought it would have been like January and here we are like into March now and people are still buying that kind of stuff. So it's kind of cool. Let us know in the comments below. Like if you sell any fitness stuff, have you seen an uptick in price or activity in those? Are they moving faster for you? Because it seems like the stuff I have is starting to move a little bit quicker. So I don't know what's going on with that, what's causing people to do that. Maybe people are having to return to the office and And I know that's kind of old and most people probably have, but there's still some people working from home and they're starting to come back to the office and they might be like, oh man, I put on a few pounds. I better, get a bike. So
it's interesting you say that because I've passed on a bunch of weights recently in the last 2 weeks.
And I think rightfully so, because at least from my experience, the market has definitely died down.
Yeah. And I haven't passed on them because I didn't think there was value. I just didn't want to deal with it. Like
you don't want to lug them into your house.
Yeah. Not only that, but I remember having, whenever you ship out weights, you have to, I bubble wrap and then I put cardboard inside the flat rate box to reinforce it. Like you have to do that maybe twice or 3 times. Then you have to tape it like crazy.
See, I only sell local.
Yeah.
I sell weights local.
Yeah. I just, like I've always said, you get top dollar for selling on eBay. At least that's my thoughts.
You can, but not necessarily, because once you figure this is the way I look at it. I might be able to make, let's say, $10 more on a dumbbell if I sold on eBay or on a weight plate. However, once I factor in eBay fees, shipping, and all that, it's not necessarily more. Whereas if I'm doing a $100 purchase of some dumbbells or some weights and it's all local, I get the cash, there's no fees, and I don't have to worry about shipping it. Time, right? I do have to, meet up with somebody and there's
I think about that aspect, the flakes, having to take time out of my day, where if I sell on eBay, I pretty much ship it when I want, I don't have to weigh. It's kind of passive in a way.
Yeah. So there's pros and cons to both, but I find big things I prefer to sell locally if possible, just because the pain of shipping. I mean, we just sold a big one of those. I don't think, maybe it's a laser disc player. I think it's like a special type of laser disc player. And it's really big and it was really heavy. It was like 25 pounds.
Okay.
That's a big shipment, right? The problem was finding the box. Like we used to have all kinds of big boxes that we'd save from things. And we've kind of reduced down the number of like large boxes we had because we just weren't using them. They were taking up too much space. And it was a nightmare. Like I had to find a big enough box, cut it down, bubble wrap it. Luckily we're selling it just for parts. So I'm like, if this thing does show up and it gets, a little bit dinged up, hopefully they're okay because it's just for parts anyways. But just big stuff in general, like anything that's going to take a lot of time to ship, because when you have to figure it out, when you're like, all right, I got to cut a box down, because we've talked about that in shipping, like having your system set up so that it's quick. If you're like cutting, finding, okay, I need to put some styrofoam or some extra paper in here. Is this going to fit? How much? It's just so much extra work. Even sometimes taking 2 people to like lift it, get it into a box. So it's nice when you can do local with that big stuff, and it's just get the cash in hand. Then you're not waiting for an eBay payout and then to get the cash. Like I look at local deals as a lot of times just like garage sale fund. Like that money that I get local deals just goes into my wallet, and that's part of my garage sale fund.
No, I agree. I can't disagree with you. I'm not a fan. The other day I sold a VCR. No, it was a dual deck. It was a Samsung one with the remote. And luckily, I've mentioned this before, the boxes at the eBay boxes that you buy, you should keep those.
Yes, they come in handy so much.
Yeah, they're perfect for like dual decks every single time. So, all right, well, I'm glad, you're getting back to reselling. You haven't missed much on garage sales, I will tell you.
That's good to know, man. The FOMO is real.
I went the last 2 weeks, 2 weeks ago around here. And now, again, it's just like reselling on eBay, right? Some people say sales are slow. Other people say sales are amazing. I would say garage sales have been the greatest, but other people might be scoring, right? So this last, I shared this on Instagram. I went to Legoland with my kid because my other son ended up going to Knott's Berry Farm, and I kind of just felt bad that we were just going to sit around the house all day. But I went to 2 garage sales, and here's the thing: there are less garage sales now in San Diego than there were a year ago. Like, so for example, and I know a lot of you that are on the East Coast or in smaller towns, you're like, what? These numbers are outrageous. But there used to be at least 300 to 400 in San Diego on every Saturday, 300 to 400. And then in the part of San Diego that we live in, once we chose that option, like we look on Craigslist, it'd give us like 100 or so, right? Now, sometimes it's like 30, 40. And a lot of those are like repeat listings. Like somebody's just really trying to make sure people go to the garage sale. So maybe 4 or 5 of those are repeat listings. And so that's been happening the last 2 weeks. It's been kind of frustrating. And then on top of that, then all the resellers are only going to certain ones, right? So I was at one that they were very big on early birds but you got to break that rule every time. And I showed up and there was about 12 of us. And I knew the resellers that were there, like, hey, Rolando, hey, what's going on? It's been a long time. And, we're chatting out there and they were agreeing, like, it's been pretty slim. And so And I hated it because you know how it is, like the awkwardness about when people start bringing stuff out. Like, do you start grabbing stuff from the table? Do you not? And there was nothing there. So I just left. So that's okay. I've still been making some local deals. I'll be sharing later on Instagram and maybe eventually here do a YouTube. But my listings, remember I was supposed to get to 3K. So I'm at the time that we dropped this podcast, I'm at 2,900 or so. And what stopped things was eBay glitching. I'm not trying to whine here. I'm just telling you it was real. My helper I remember she had drafts that usually she makes drafts and then I take the drafts and I finalize them and make them live. And I want to say probably 15 to 20 listings may have disappeared. Like, we don't know what happened to them because I remember seeing them and then they were gone. And she's like, oh, I thought you made them live. That's why I couldn't see them. Nope. They just disappeared. And then when I try to put pictures, sometimes the only way I was able to do pictures was choosing the import for mobile. And so I do it on my desktop and then I'd have to put pictures via my phone onto the desktop. And the other people were messaging me and saying, hey, just use Chrome. So I went from Safari to Chrome.
Oh yeah, don't use Safari.
I love Safari. Safari.
Chrome is the best.
So I went to Chrome and it worked for a while, but then it started getting glitchy again. So I'm hoping eBay gets this resolved pretty quick. I've also had some issues where items that I know for sure I always charge shipping are free shipping. And so I'll get an offer like on a pair, like one example is I got a pair of Olokai shoes. I paid like $7 and I was trying to get like 50 for them and somebody offered me 25, which on a slow day, I might have considered it, but it said free shipping. So that automatically, what am I making? Like $2 on that? So I don't know. I don't know what's going on. It's a little bit frustrating. But life's been getting busier. Those of you that have families that listen, those of you that have been listening, maybe when your kids were 5, I think you start noticing once they get to 9 or 10, life gets busier. And then once they become teenagers, it gets busier. And one of the things I love about reselling is giving me the opportunity to drop whatever I'm doing and I'm able to go to events with my son. I haven't missed a single sporting event that my son's been involved in. I just think about, when I was a kid, my parents maybe went to 2 because they were too busy working. My mom was a nurse, my dad was a chef. And so I never saw him. And it's been great. I mean, obviously, you got to still hustle. I've been consistent listing every single day. I'm trying to hit like 25 to 30 listings a day. But I had one day where I just was tired and I'm like, I'm going to go to sleep. I'm not saying that's the way to do it. Here's the one thing I want people to understand about our channel is that we are about to hustle. I mean, obviously our name is Pure Hustle Podcast, but family is our first priority, right? It's God, family, and then the business, or maybe you could throw in a couple other things there too, right? And it depends, right? You have your career as a teacher, right? That obviously, trumps reselling, and it's interesting. I mean, I got a whole, there's a influencer that we used to listen to all the time, and out of nowhere, like he's no longer married and don't know what happened to his kids, and he's with some new younger person, and I'm just like, man, I respect that dude a lot for his hustle, and I'm like, I wonder what happened, right? And we I don't want to jump to conclusions, but to me, right now, this is why Instagram stories have been a little bit less. That's why. I want to be way more involved in my kids. And so hopefully
prioritizing family at some point. I mean, that's why we work, right? Like we work so that we can provide opportunities for our family. Like that is what we do here. And you may have your own things. If you don't have a family, I mean, your priorities may be different, but I can't imagine anybody hustling and sacrificing. And again, like you said, like that specific situation, we don't know the whole scenario. So like we're not going to, postulate or assume we know what's going on, but we never want hustling. We never want any of that, the love and drive for money to outdo our connection with our family. And so, or friends. And so there are sacrifices you got to make if you want to be successful. And there are certain sacrifices that just aren't worth making to be a certain level of success.
Correct. And so that's kind of where we're at. I mean, I think about, if I was in my 20s and I did what I did now and I knew what I knew now, I'd be in a far better place, right? But I chose a different career path. I chose to impact, individuals through teaching. And so anyways, I just wanted to say that because, life has been getting busy, I think, for Mike and I, but hopefully all of you from the beginning have known that we are about that hustle, but our families are important. And as our families grow, as we grow, our businesses have been growing. I've moved into a larger place. I have a larger property. I have way more inventory. I have way more income coming in. But at the same time, I've also, had to figure out that, healthy family life, a family business, and so it's kind of where I'm at. And the last thing I want to share about the updates is always, if you get a helper, it is worth the time to train them in the beginning, even if it takes a little bit longer than you wanted. And the reason I say that is because I've had a couple like hiccups with my helper, but it's on me. It's not on her. And the reason being is I generally would just tell her, here's some items, just look at my listings and do what I did on my listings and you should be okay. And you would think, like sometimes that will work, but you have to understand, like, the reason you make your listings the way you make them is because you know what you're doing, right? If you give them to somebody and, all they've done is listed shirts and all they've done is listed, let's say, shirts and buckles and hats. And then out of nowhere, you're throwing them at Department 56 stuff, or you're throwing, just a different kind of item. It may not be that easy.
Yeah, that kind of goes with the idea of like, you got to teach the why and not just the what. Right. Like when you teach somebody, here's why I list this way, and here's how I process that. If you can train somebody to do that, you're actually giving them a lot of freedom, because then they can actually operate within that bounds and maybe make the listings, understanding what it is that they should be looking for, how to do it, and include the right things, instead of just saying, I'm going to copy this, which there's nothing wrong with imitating, because imitating is a good way to learn in. But if you're just imitating, then you're never thinking for yourself, and you may be able to train a helper to a place where they're going to be able to include details and things that you might be like, man, that's so great. Like the listing that I showed you as an example didn't have those kinds of details on there, but you were able to find that because you understand what it is I'm trying to accomplish when I'm creating a listing.
Yeah. So anyways, just a heads up, if you're hiring somebody, it's so worth the time investment in the beginning, so you're not having to, fix things later on. So, all right. Hey, before we move on to random stories, just want to say thank you to all of you that have signed up for Patreon/Pure Hustle Podcast. In the link below. It's been really helpful. We're slowly getting back to our pre-Christmas numbers that we had before the whole, I would call it the buy me a coffee apocalypse. But we're slowly getting there. If you have not yet signed up, or you're previously on Buy Me a Coffee and you've gotten those messages and you're like, this is really annoying, I don't want to do this, I ask you just to jump on to Patreon, .com. We are Pure Hustle Podcast on there, and just sign up for one of the tiers. It definitely helps us. So
yeah. And we haven't actually talked about this. We talked on a previous episode. We were kind of just like throwing out there, like, would we potentially do like a paid Discord with other groups or anything? And I'm still planning on creating the Discord for Pure Hustle Podcast. There's been a lot going on. But one of the ways I was kind of thinking is kind of soft launching it and starting it with our Patreon members, just to kind of get the flow going and get things going. So if you want to be in on that beta of that communication and all of that, if you're a Patreon member, you're going to be, one of the first to say like, hey, we're trying this Discord thing. You want to help us out here and see how it goes. So that's just another way we could say thank you to those of you who continue to support us. Again, the podcast is free, but I think that'd be a good way to make sure that we have people who are invested in reselling there in the community, and people who are committed to the Pure Hustle network, right? Our group of people who are trying to level up our life and our reselling.
Agreed. So thank you to everyone. All right. We do have a funny, that's not related to a random story. Should we talk about that one first?
If you want to.
Did you see the email?
I did.
What was it?
So we've talked a couple times at the podcast about the somebody accidentally sent a hustle of the week to the eBay for Business podcast instead of sending it to Pure Hustle Podcast. And we've kind of joked about it, like, this person sent it wrong. They reached out to us and said, it was me. I did it. Here's why. And they kind of said, it was a late night and they sent it to the wrong thing. But it's funny because he says, I got a eBay for Business mug for like being a call-in.
Correct.
He goes, but I call it my mug of shame.
Correct. So I'll just read it real quick. This is from Terry in Wisconsin. That's all I'm going to share. Terry, thanks so much. I mean, you didn't have to reach out, right? It just said, hey, we live in Wisconsin. We're vacationing in Maine. You got that much from what I submitted to the eBay for Business podcast. Here is the rest of the story. So I'm thinking this is, about my age, because not a lot of people know about Paul Harvey. That's a sad day.
So this is kind of a hustle of the week bonus for you.
I guess so. It was an 18-hour drive from Maine to Wisconsin. My wife and I took turns driving. We got back home a little burnt out. My Hustle of the Week item was the first thing I listed on our return, and it's sold within hours of listing. I was excited to share. I sent the email within 24 hours of our return, and I was still a little sleep deprived. And truth be told, a couple of cocktails in, I did mention I live in Wisconsin. Yep. I'm usually pretty organized and have several reselling related contact emails saved on a spreadsheet. I copied the wrong email. I sent my Hustle of the Week off. I remember seeing a couple of your podcasts after that and thinking, maybe my find wasn't all that interesting. And by the way, if you shared with me, and this is not on Mike, it's all on me. If you shared with me a Hustle of the Week and I have not shared and I told you I was going to, please contact me. I am very organized about it, but there are times things slip through the cracks and I don't have it. So let me know. So he said, maybe my find wasn't all that interesting. Then one day I was listening to the eBay for Business podcast and was surprised and embarrassed to hear them read my Hustle of the Week submission. I was surprised that I didn't realize who the intended recipient was by my closing about keeping it real and relevant. In a bit of an ironic twist, the first time I heard you guys was when Griff interviewed you on the program. So mystery solved. Sorry for his confusion. So
it's pretty funny.
That is pretty funny. I appreciate it. Thank you, all of you. And by the way, you're always welcome to call in our Hustle Week, and we'll share that phone number later on. So, all right. Well, any randomness with you?
Super random story. So, my wife, partway through the week after going to the funeral, stopped in Colorado because that's where my mom is, and my oldest son was staying with my mom for a few days. So she stopped there and spent a couple days with my mom and my son before flying back home. Well, while she was there, she sees this giant buffalo head on the wall, right? And there's a story behind it, and this is pretty interesting. So my mom's husband had always said, like when she met him, like I want like a buffalo head, like that would be. I just think it'd be cool to have a buffalo head on the wall. And my mom goes, "Oh, I have one. My brother, so my uncle, my brother bought one for me at a estate sale. My uncle does a lot of estate sales, but he doesn't do it for like reselling purposes. He just likes to like go and buy collectible things that he's into. And he saw this buffalo head and he bought it for like $100 or $200 at this estate sale. And he gave it to my mom because he knew that my mom had mentioned something like that in the past. And my mom's like, "That's so funny. You want a buffalo head? My brother bought me one. It's just at his house." So my mom's husband stopped at his house one day on the way home, and he lives a couple states away. And he was traveling for work. So he stops and he picks it up, but he noticed as he was like getting it home that there were some like bugs in it, like its hair and stuff like that. So he's like, "Oh, like this is frustrating. There's bugs in it. So I'm going to take it to a taxidermy place to get it like cleaned and whatever they can do." So he goes to
it was already taxidermied, right?
Yeah, it was a taxidermied buffalo head. Yeah, like a mounted buffalo head. Okay. Yeah, it wasn't just like a raw buffalo head.
No, I know.
So, and again, sorry for those of you who are listening who like are against hunting and all that stuff, but there's a people who are into
there's
that.
There's a market.
Yeah. So, anyways, he takes it to a taxidermy place, and the taxidermy guy was just in awe. He's like, "Do you know what you have?" And then my mom's husband was like, "No." And he goes, this is like, there's bones in this. He goes, like, they've stopped doing this like almost 100 years ago. Like now they use like plastics. They take out all the bones when they do taxidermy and they put in plastics instead. He goes, like, this is actually like the bones are still in here. He goes, "I haven't seen one of these in years and years and years." He goes, "This is like super rare." And he offered to buy it for $10,000.
Wow.
And my mom's husband was like, "Nope, I want it. I want to keep it." So the taxidermy's like, "Man, that's so cool that you have this." And I guess like part of the lip was like open a little bit and it looked like he had a crooked smile because it actually had the teeth still. What? And he's like, "Do you want me to sew up the lip?" And my mom's husband was like, "No, like I think it's kind of a cool look to it." So anyways, I was just in awe, like to think that this buffalo head would be worth $10,000. And so I don't know, like it's just a random story because as a reseller, I've never thought to like look at anything taxidermy.
Yeah,
but to me, it's like, man, like, and then now to know if you are looking for taxidermied stuff, and I don't know how I would know what it is without like learning a little bit more about it. But if you can find something that actually has the bones in it instead of a plastic inside of it, like a plastic mold.
Is this a Bolo?
Well, I mean, I think, when we get to the Bolo, I'll re-mention this, but yeah, I just had no idea. I mean, I knew that people pay a lot of money when they go hunting to get the deer head, taxidermy and all of that, or, mountain lion or whatever it is they hunted. I knew that there was money in that aspect, but I didn't know that there was money as much as like $10,000 for somebody to collect something that wasn't something that they, it wasn't their experience. It wasn't their hunt. It wasn't, so it was just kind of shocking to think that at an estate sale. My uncle, I mean, I'm sure if he finds out about it, he's going to be furious with my uncle. You know, I'm not furious. I mean, it is what it is. He gave it to my mom. But to think like, yeah, I paid a couple $100 for it. You can have it. I don't think if he knew it was worth $10,000, he would have just given it to my mom. You know? So yeah, that's my random story.
That's a random. That is really random. So, and you know, here in San Diego, I have gone to a few estate sales and garage sales, and I've tried to pick up taxidermy, but either the price is outrageous or there's just a major competition for it. Like it's wild. Cause I have a friend of mine who's an avid hunter, and I just send him pictures and he's like, you know, he'll tell me yay or nay, try to get in or not, you know? And yeah, there's a lot of people that will buy stuff that's not their win or whatever, their gain or their hunt or whatever. And they'll keep it. So, wow. I'm thinking about, I have a friend of mine who has a huge moose.
Yeah. Elks and moose, man. The first time I'd ever seen, because I've seen like a moose in real life, but like an elk, the first time I saw it, one of my uncles had one that he got in a hunt, and he had the head mounted, and I was just in awe. Like I was like, I can't believe how big. And if you live, you know, somewhere where they have elk and moose and stuff, you're like, yeah, I know they're
big. We're here from San Diego,
but yeah, in California, you know, we don't see those kinds of animals, and so I think, you know, like it's like a big horse, and it's like no, it's massive. They're massive, huge. So wild. All right, so my story's not as cool as yours, but so update, I had mentioned that I had a item that went to Brazil, and then the person like just let it sit in customs for like a month, never picked it up. Well, they opened the case, and it was like an $80 for, and not a huge sale, it was an $80 sale, but $80 is $80. And they opened the case saying they never got it. And I messaged them like, well, you did get it, you just haven't picked it up from customs. And it was tough because it was, you know, we're translating between Portuguese and English, and Google Translate isn't always the best translator. And so I got the weirdest thing from eBay. eBay's like, oh, we decided in, you know, your favor, you've been protected through eBay guidelines, you know, for international standard shipping. I'm like, all right, cool. And then within 2 minutes later, I get this random, eBay has decided to reverse the decision on their case, and we will be withdrawing funds from your account. Ooh. And I was like, what? Like, what led to this decision? Did like a bot, like just, you know, go off program? Like what happened? Then it was an easy fix. I called eBay. I'm like, hey, listen, I'm not sure what's going on. And by the way, this was an item, just recap, that I had shipped out in November. Okay, we're now, you know, we're in March. And so it was a while back. And yeah, eBay reversed it. And this is why I always say, if you're shipping international, you can go rogue. I mean, I would say, you know, Pirate Ship has its simple export program, and I've shipped through there outside of eBay, and I haven't had any problems. But it's really nice to ship on eBay, whether it's global shipping or eBay standard international delivery, just because you are protected. I know people have stories of times that eBay didn't protect them. I have not had one. Like eBay has backed me up on every single one. And the worst I ever got from me one time was somebody from England returned something, and it had a terrible perfume smell, and I still got my money back. So just, you know, be aware that if you're going to ship global, you want to go down that road. I got a question for you. Have you had a lot of people tell me, like they'll buy something and then they're like, hey, I don't get paid until this day, or, you know, I'm on limited income? Like, I feel like I'm getting a flood of those lately. I haven't had any recently. I mean, over my course of reselling, of course, I've gotten those. And I think like, hey, I'm not your layaway. But again, if it's not an item that's moving, I mean, what I hate is when they buy it and then they don't pay and they say something like that. Yeah. Then it's like, you know, well, wait to buy it until you have the money. You know, I'm not going to hold this for you. But sometimes if it's like, this item has been sitting forever and, you know, you say you're going to be paid in 3 days, sure, I won't close it until 3 days. Like I doubt it's going to sell in 3 days anyways. But I don't think I've had any of those. I just feel bad because I've had a few that really wanted an item, and then it sells like the day before they pay. So what I mean is like, I tell them, hey, I can't hold on to it for you. I'll list it. If somebody buys it, it is what it is. But if it's still here, you know, the deal's still on the table. And then literally like I had a guy tell me a full conversation about how he wanted this train set, and he's building this in the back, and he's on a limited income now, and this is the joy of his life, and it's sold. Yeah, everybody's got a story. I mean, I felt bad though. You've got it. I mean, there's a human connection. There's a human element to every aspect of life. But in business, you gotta you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
if it's like, to me, the way I look at it is if it's a local deal on something, or I've met somebody, I'm at a swap meet and it's something like that, I might be more willing to like, hey, you know, I'll hold this. I know you, I know your situation. Or if it's, you know, somebody I know through a friend or something, I feel like that's different. But when it's just somebody messaging you, it's like, hey, that's great. And I definitely hope you get it. I hope you're able to buy this. But I feel like you can't feel too bad, because maybe if somebody's on that limited of an income, like, and they didn't have the money then, you know, maybe they shouldn't be buying it. I don't know. Like, and not to say that you can't have other.
I agree. I mean, most of the stuff I would say that I sell is not like a necessity. Right. Sometimes I sell, like, you know, one of the Bolos shirt today is work boots, and I sell those, and I could see that being a necessity, and it's cheaper to go on eBay and stuff. But most of the stuff, like the vintage stuff, I would count it as more luxury. Like you don't need that, you know, satin San Francisco Giants jacket that's $200. Like, that's not a necessity.
And the person who bought that train set, you don't spend that kind of money on collectible things unless you also, it's the love of your life, right? So, so whoever got it, it was really important to them. So you can't feel too bad. I mean, I feel like you can be like, man, that stinks for that person, but I would be hesitant, because especially with this fifth wheel situation that I've experienced, you can't hold things for somebody, because somebody can give you a story and then flake on you and you lose a sale.
I agree. I agree with you. I agree. All right. So that is our random stories. Hey, by the way, we share stuff in our own stories on Instagram. If you haven't been following us on social media, we are Pure Hustle Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok. We are also Pure Hustle Cast on Twitter. You can always give us a call at 619-738-1170. That's 619-738-1170. Or shoot us an email at purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. That's purehustlepodcast@gmail.com. We do have a Hustle of the Week that actually came through, which we'll be sharing in the next themed episode. And as always, we're grateful for all of you that listen. Actually, I ran into 2 people that listen to the podcast. You know, I feel pretty VIP these days, you know. You know, shout out to Victor, who I ran into at the Salvation Army. I was just biding time, and is that a word, biding? Biding time?
Yeah. Biding your time.
Biding. Okay. All right. And, you know, he comes up to me. He's like, hey, I think I know you. And I'm like, oh, no, like, this could be good. This could be, hey, that was from the podcast. So appreciate it, Victor. And then
I wasn't like, I know you. You owe me money.
See, I don't have any of that. You know, you always get to, well, for me, I suspended a lot of kids. And I had some kids that ended up expelled. And I had some drama when I was an administrator. So you just never know, you know, like I do have. Yeah, I have things that I'm worried about at times, you know, like, you know, when you make tough calls, you don't end up being everybody's friend. And Dave also ran into me at Legoland, took the time out to say hi to me at Legoland. So What's up, Dave? Appreciate you taking the time. It was funny because my son was acting up right before he came to say hi. And it's like, all right, I hope he didn't see me, like, you know, getting upset with my kid. You know, but hey, thanks, Dave, for saying.
Gotta keep it real.
Gotta keep it real. So, hey, and by the way, if you're listening to the podcast, by the way, what I was saying is a lot of people have just listened to the podcast. They're like, hey, we don't do YouTube. We don't do anything. We only listen to the podcast. And we are grateful for all of you. But we also ask you, just jump on over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that bell notification, because we also provide a lot of other content on our YouTube. So, yeah. And also, thank you for all the reviews on iTunes. We're slowly getting up to 600 reviews, and we just want to keep it there. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right. What's going on in the reselling world?
Things are happening all over the world. Things are happening on eBay. We're still making money. We're still flipping, keeping it real. Orlando, take it away.
All right, so this is an obvious one. I don't know. I don't want to spend a lot of time on it. I will say, you know, my prayers are out there for all the people dealing with the war that's taking place in Ukraine. But as a result of the war, if you didn't know, and I think this is an obvious one, like eBay has suspended shipping out to Ukraine and parts of Russia. Now, there are possible workarounds, right? But I know that UPS and FedEx themselves have suspended it. So, you know, I would just be careful if anybody out there, you know, get a message, hey, you know, eBay isn't letting me buy via global shipping or eBay international standard delivery. Be aware that eBay is just not doing it. And so neither is UPS and FedEx. So it, you know, there's like DHL and there's others, but just be aware of that. And obviously, eBay will always protect you. If a shipment is late or it gets lost because of the current situation. So
something to be aware of.
All right, so this is funny. So I want to hear how you read this article. So I posted this on Instagram. It was interesting, the responses. So Bloomberg had posted about how eBay last week warned investors that they were losing customers. So did you read the article?
I didn't read the whole article.
Okay. Now,
I actually saw a few articles. That's the thing. It's like when I sent you a screenshot of it, and I think you'd already seen it at that point. But I have eBay saved on my Google News as anything that pops up eBay. And there were multiple ones about, eBay stock dropping, eBay's, losing money, losing customers. And so it's kind of like, oh gosh.
So it's interesting because you have to read the article to see what it's saying. And so I'll just read some quick lines. eBay warned investors that first quarter sales will miss estimates as shoppers return to pre-pandemic spending habits. And then after that, the shares fell 12% in extended trading. Sales will be $2.43 billion to $2.48 billion the period ending in March. On average, estimated $2.6 billion according to data compiled by Bloomberg. Earnings, excluding some items, will be $1. Anyways, that's for shares. The momentum eBay gained during the pandemic when people abandoned stores or websites has been fading as shoppers return to in-person browsing and buying. The CEO maintains the company's advertising and payments business can boost profits even if total spending on the site falls. So, two things, and I want to hear your commentary on this. First of all, it's not saying that things are out of the norm, like eBay is just losing all kinds of people. What it's saying is people aren't buying the way they were during the pandemic, which makes sense, completely makes sense, right? I would say 2020 was, for me, the best time of reselling I've ever had. It was just amazing how much stuff was selling and for how much. And, this last Q4 for me was a lesson as to how things are going back to normal because it wasn't that great. But then when the CEO says that payments and company advertising can boost profits if total spending on the site falls, I found that a little bit concerning.
Yeah, I mean, part of that payments, that's us, right? That's
what
fees.
I'm saying.
And here's the thing: eBay is looking at the bottom line. Investors of eBay are looking at the bottom line. And if you believe in eBay as a company, I mean, one way we talk a lot about okay, how do you hedge against inflation? Well, one way you can hedge against eBay's fees, if you think, well, eBay is going to continue to be profitable even if they're losing customers because they're charging more in fees. Well, you could buy eBay stock, especially. And again, I'm not recommending anybody buy any stock because I don't know enough about that. I'm not
financial advice,
not advising that, and don't eat lead paint. But that is one way to hedge against it, right? If the stock drops, could become a bargain. I'm not saying it is, but it could become a bargain if their bottom line is how you're going to make money. You're going to make earnings per share. You're going to be able to make dividends. All those things are going to potentially be up. But the problem is, as a seller, you're part of what's bringing that bottom line up because they continue to increase fees. All of those things are where they're making their money. Now, long term, that's not sustainable. I read a thing by Warren Buffett. It was like Warren Buffett's essays, and then I read some other books by Warren Buffett. And one of the interesting things that he talked about was that when he buys a company, when he buys majority stock in a company, his number one thing is the CEO. He doesn't buy companies just because of the numbers. I mean, the numbers have to be right, but he goes and he meets the CEO. He has lunch with them. He talks with them, and he has to believe in them as a person because he says that's one of the most challenging things is so many people. And how many times do you see that? CEOs for most companies, it's like a 5-year lifespan, and they hop around from company to company. And the CEOs, they make their bonusing, they make all their money on how the stock's doing. Right. So most CEOs, when they go to a company, they're really not thinking, where is this company going to be 20 years from now, 50 years from now? How do I make sure that it's profitable then? They're thinking in the same way like a lot of politicians think, how do I get votes for the next election? Yeah. They're not thinking, how do I make the right decision that might hurt a little bit now, but over the course of the next 100 years is going to help our country? They're thinking, what do I need to do to make enough voters happy in a short period of time? Because I'm only going to be in office for 10 years or however long. So when a CEO's lifespan is like 5 to 7 years, they're thinking, how do I make a company make enough money in that period of time that I make money? And I could say, look how successful I was. I took eBay from this point to this point in their stock shares. So what I worry about is this might be a good temporary strategy. Hey, how do we make it so that the earnings per share on eBay goes up? Well, if we increase fees a little bit, our bottom line is higher. But if you're not continually growing your customer base, that's going to hurt you. Now, here where I think, and advertising, I'm sure where they're talking about advertising is, the pay-per-click and all of those things. But one positive thing, and we didn't have this on here, but I noticed it. So I watched the Daytona 500 a couple weeks ago, and I watched the Fontana 400 race. And I don't watch a lot of TV, so I don't see commercials almost ever. I don't watch barely any, but I watched those, and I was kind of like proud. I was like, all right, that's good to see that eBay had multiple eBay Motors commercials.
That's good
for the Daytona 500. So it was like, I love wheels, all kinds of wheels. Like their whole commercial is like, and then the point was any car parts you want, you can get on eBay Motors. So I'm like, this is target marketing. Like they're marketing to people who are watching NASCAR. I'm not a huge car person, but a lot of people are. They tinker with cars, they race cars, they buy car. And so what they're saying is, hey, you need car parts? Go to eBay. And I'm like, this is positive. To me, this is a step in the right direction. I don't know if they're marketing and there's lots of commercials on other stuff, but I was like, this is money well spent. And so in that aspect, I can see eBay hopefully gaining customer bases if they advertise wisely. Because we talk a lot about, are they keeping up with the trends? Are they keeping up with, of course, Poshmark is not as big as eBay. But if Poshmark and newer companies, who knows what the next flash in the pan or the next thing that actually sticks is going to be. But if they're figuring out how the younger generation uses social media, if they're figuring out how interactions and dopamine hits on things like that work better than eBay does, long term, eBay might continue to lose customers, which hurts us. So I'm hoping eBay makes wise decisions that creates more customers in the long term, as opposed to how do we just get the bottom line up by charging sellers more?
Yeah, and I agree. And again, whenever I post these kind of things, usually, we get a lot of people saying eBay is done, and there's no point to resell. I mean, it gets down that rabbit hole, but it's all about adapting, right? eBay is still king, and who knows how long that will be. I do anticipate it'll be for a while. I think it's still, unless there's something that blows everybody out of the water. And I'll talk about this next thing that a lot of people are saying is going to be this thing, which I don't know. But again, I've been very big on, and lately I would say the last 6 months, I've been very big on focusing. I've been focusing strictly on eBay, right? I did some Amazon, but I'm realizing that eBay, as long as I'm consistently listing quality goods that I'm picking up for a low price, it's a pretty simple formula to continue having that income. So yeah, maybe it's not going to be like 2020 again, but that doesn't mean that your business can't grow larger than it did in 2020, right? You had a spike. The spike was nice. It did not take a lot of work. All I had to do is go into my death piles and I listen to my death piles and stuff that would never sell sold, right? Where now it's like, all right, economy's in a downturn, inflation's up. It's going to be a little bit different. We had a whole episode about how 2022 will be, I believe, a more difficult year for resellers. And it's going to be all about, are you willing to adapt and do what's necessary to be successful? All right, which leads us to our next one. So I don't know why I just got drawn to this. Obviously, this ended up in my YouTube recommended a lot. And so it's the WhatNot app. Have you heard of the WhatNot app?
I haven't. I'm going to look it up right now.
So the WhatNot app is, all the big reselling YouTubers have, I think, done a video on this. And it's a live auction site that you stream your stuff and you sell it, and they take care of everything. So when things sell, you print the label from them and they ship it to the owner, the buyer. They take their 10% cut. Their shipping's kind of nice. Like you pay whatever, let's say $4 for, let's say it's a shirt, and then every item after that's only $1 for you have to pay shipping. So if you buy 20 items, right, you paid $4, and all the other 19 items you only paid $1 to ship each of those items. And so I've been interested in this for a while, and I thought, okay, you watch some videos, you're like, all right, this looks pretty cool, especially if you need some quick money, but you don't get the money right away. I don't know what the window is. Those of you that have been doing WhatNot, let us know on the comments. But there is this window for you to get paid. It's not like immediate, like the good old days of PayPal. But you basically, there's only so many categories, and I'll talk about this later on, but initially it was all about Funko Pops, and then it got into like vintage toys and collectibles and Now there's like new categories like vintage clothing, and then there's thrifted and so on. So I'm like, all right, I'll dabble in this. I have a lot of vintage stuff. I could probably, play this game. And again, everybody always thinks something's the eBay killer, right? I kind of think like crypto, everybody thinks something's the Ethereum killer, right? But the reality is when people are used to a certain way of doing things, it's very hard to break from that. And so I got on WhatNot and I watched some auctions. Said, here's my feedback. And I was asking around others in the reselling community who had been on WhatNot. So you go on there and it looks like an Instagram live or a TikTok live. That's basically what it is, except you can bid on stuff, right? And I thought I was just going to go in as a buyer so I can see what people are doing to be a seller. And I was going to see if I can source. A couple of frustrations I had. One was I love sourcing on eBay and Mercari and Poshmark because I source on my own terms, right? I put in what I'm exactly looking for. I choose my price range. I choose everything. On this, you have to wait. And a lot of people just have poor presentations, right? It's not engaging. It's like not everybody's meant to do social media.
I can imagine though, this would be like I was talking about the dopamine hit, right?
Yeah.
The thing with things like TikTok or even, and I hate Poshmark in the sense of like you have to share, but there's the idea of doing something and getting something back. Do something 100%. A little bit, boom, dopamine hit. And so I can imagine that for some people, I mean, the auctions when eBay first started, I feel like auctions were almost like that, where it was
fun.
You buy something and you're bidding, you're waiting to the last minute, you're bidding. Did I win it? And now it's, for most of us, it's just a store. You go in, buy now.
But I like that.
I mean, there's benefits to that, but just imagine the same, that personality. If you can get the young generation, they don't know what they're looking for, but if someone could present it really well and it's like, check out this shirt, and someone's like, oh, I want this. Oh, somebody bid, I could pay that much. And then people start bidding it up. So I could definitely see where there's a lot of potential in something.
And you only get 30 seconds. And you could choose the rules. So you can choose, how on some auction sites, if somebody bids at the last second, it extends it 5 more seconds. And then you could go set in, death. And there's different ways of doing it. Anyways, I was trying to source. And then after a while, I was like, man, this is a lot of time I'm spending on here watching people. And I don't even know what's next. Maybe I missed something. Maybe they give you previews. I know there is some of that, like you can upload a video or something and show kind of what you have. And so I don't know. I saw that a lot of things in certain fields were going for cheap. Like I saw a lot of vintage stuff was going for pretty cheap, but
sourcing opportunity.
Yeah, there was, but you had to watch a lot of junk before you got to a quality piece.
But some people love, some people that they just spend all day on their phone.
I know.
And the idea of ooh, what is this person going to show next?
That wasn't me. I was like, come on, man, stop talking. Just show the next item. Show the next item.
I'm really interested in this.
No, check it out. And what's cool is the collectible toys. One guy was doing G.I. Joe toys and they were going for crazy money.
That might be even just Bolo research. What are people selling? What do people have? What's good? Spend an hour watching what people sell, what sells for a lot, and you might learn a few niches that you didn't know before. I'm going to watch for those toys. There's obviously a market for that, or I'm going to watch for that brand.
Yeah. So I did feel that a lot of the stuff people were just trying to offload what they weren't willing to sell for as much as they wanted. Do you get what I'm saying? Like there's some stuff I won't do on an auction like that because I know what it's worth and I want to get that price for it. But there are some ththings we all have in our inventory that we're like,
imagine going to a garage sale, right? Or a thrift store, live. And you can buy this for $5 and you're like, I've got this item right here at this thrift store. Who wants to buy it? And if nobody buys it, put it back on the shelf and move to the next
I'm
item.
not sure. I don't think you can do that on that.
Why not? That would be great.
It would be great.
You can almost personal shop for people at a thrift store. Oh, I just found this item right here. Okay. Let's start the bidding at $10.
Yeah, I don't know. Well, what I'll say.
Maybe that's my niche. I'm going to get into that.
I think it's a great idea, but that would be, man, you imagine, I'm sure that would not go well. Everybody starts doing that. They go to thrift stores and
they're just live streaming what they're picking up. And if it doesn't sell, you just put it down. Oh man. Let me know in the comments below. Is that a good idea? Should I market that? Should I go and try and, cause not everybody has access to the same thrift store that I have access to, their Goodwill looks different. So they're like, what? He just found a Metallica.
Okay. So there's a few other things too on there. I think, you have to get approved before you go on there. So the larger the social media following you have, the easier it is to get approved. And so
we should start a Pure Hustle podcast one.
Oh, we are. We're going live in a couple weeks. I didn't tell you, but I'm going to sell some vintage stuff.
Well, we should do like specifically, like not individually, but like we source together like a pile of stuff and then auction it. And then and we tell all of our listeners, like, come on, we're auctioning on WhatNot right now.
We could. I got to look into the details. I know that I would be approved probably in the vintage category, in the toys category, vintage toys category, and a couple others. There is a thrifted category, but I don't know how popular that one is. Listen, you can go on it. Like I'm gonna go on it. Let's see, can I go on it right now? There's always auctions going on like all the time, and so you can always, like right now, yeah. There's one going for like WWE stuff. There's one going for Marvel stuff. Like it's just. Yeah, here somebody is auctioning a Taz t-shirt that I'm looking at. It's at $9. That's probably like a $20 shirt. Let's see where it ends up. There's 8 seconds left. Oh, it went up to 17. Remember, I said it should end at $20. It's at $10 with 12 seconds left. Are we willing to wait to 10? Oh, it's going up to 11. Is Rolando going to be right? See, but on eBay,
it's exciting.
On eBay, I think this would sell for 30 to 40. Oh man, they've done the whole like. Every time somebody gets close to the end, it'll keep kicking it up.
This makes a riveting podcast. Us watching,
us watching and talking about it. I know, but it's okay. But it ended, and somebody wanted it for $12 plus ship. So that's what I mean. That's not good.
But we've talked about the benefit of fast nickel though too.
Yeah.
Like if you could walk into a store, buy 20 or 30 items at a thrift store and sell all 20 or 30 items for more than you bought it for that day. And you could do like, that'd be incredible, right? I mean, we've talked to resellers who do that. Like they sell everything within a month. That might be a beneficial thing. Like, yeah, I can put this stuff, I could list it. Cause how much time did that take? Right. There was you didn't have to take pictures. You didn't have to take all the measurements. You just show it. This is a size large. It's look at just a couple stains here. There might be.
I got plenty of hats that I maybe when maybe you and I will do a combined one, and you just bring out stuff that you want to sell, and I'll bring out stuff that I want. So we'll make it pure as a podcast, whatnot, and then we'll see how it goes. You know, I don't know how that could we do a combined one. Like we would have to probably like split the profit or something like that.
Yeah, we'll just put it into the podcast.
I'll do it.
We'll take.
Yeah, no, but that's I'm taking from my inventory. I don't know if I can do that.
Well, no, but that's what I'm saying. Like, if we documented it and we made it part of like this thing. I mean, obviously, if you did it on your own, keep the money, right? And if I used it and did it on my own, keep the money. But if we were to say like, let's just take $100, of our Patreon over the next couple of months, and let's all go together.
That. Not from our own inventory.
Let's all go to a thrift store, and a couple of thrift stores, and we'll buy stuff and we'll sell it tonight on WhatsApp, and we'll just make it a thing. Maybe we'll go live on Instagram and talk about what we're picking up at the store, and then you guys can join us on WhatsApp to see what's sold and watch it sell.
Okay. So let me try one on my own just for
practice it. I mean, yeah, we got to know what we're doing before
and it'll be under Pure as a podcast. It'll probably be vintage hats or shirts or something like that. And then once we do that, then Mike and I might go down that direction. I like the idea. Yeah. I think it'd be cool. So, all right. Hey, man, there's so much stuff. Okay, so I'll leave this till next time because it's not like a heavy reselling topic. But it's time for our next time. But before we go there, there's something else you need to think about. Skull Shaver. Skull Shaver.
We're going to start with a new promo code, Hustle. So our new promo code for Skull Shaver is Hustle. So if you haven't bought one yet, we've had different promo codes in the past. They keep getting on our promo codes, end up on like third-party things. And so Skull Shaver pulls them down because, this is basically a friends and family deal, right? This is just for our listeners. So please don't share this with anybody. Share it with your friends, but don't put it on the internet and say like, hey, if you want a discount. But Skull Shaver is an incredible product. We use it every single day for our nice shiny domes, and it's fast. It's easy. The battery life, man, that's like my favorite part is I could charge this thing because I hate when you're having to charge something all the time. I charge this thing once and then it lasts for like 2 to 3 weeks. And I charge it again just because I'm like, it's getting down to 30%. I better charge it up. But I've never run this thing out of batteries. It lasts forever. It's so easy to clean. It comes with a little water dish that you put the thing in, you just turn it on and it self cleans. It's such an amazing product. So if you want to get a Skull Shaver, you want fast, easy shave, go to skullshaver.com and use promo code HUSTLE. If you use the promo code HUSTLE, you'll get a nice discount. It lets them know that we sent you, and you won't be disappointed. I mean, if you're not on the YouTube, go on the YouTube and check out our domes. Tell us, does this look like a clean shave? You know, I shaved last night. I didn't even shave this morning, and my dome still looks really clean.
And that's hustle with the capital H.
Yeah.
I don't know. Does that gonna matter?
I don't know if it matters.
Well,
Maybe.
they gave it to us capital H, so I figured why not.
Capital H, hustle, because you gotta hustle, not just hustle, but hustle.
All right, let's talk
Proper noun.
All right, let's talk about our next hustling.
Bolo.
What's your bolo?
Yeah. I'm bringing it back to the beginning of the episode here, and I'm saying taxidermy, just because this is something that I've been overlooking, and I've been to estate sales, and it's just, and of course, if it's something big, right, like that might have caught my attention, but I was looking on eBay, and even things like bugs, like taxidermied bugs. There's a car mechanic place where I live, and I've gone there a couple of times, like for quick fixes on things. And his whole wall is like taxidermied bugs and insects and reptiles. And so there are people who collect these, or even things like birds, small birds that are decorations. If you can tell the difference between what's taxidermy versus what's just, you know, a knickknack. Mm-hmm. Taxidermy, there's money in it. And the smaller items, I've seen birds go for like $60. And so it's like, okay, it's not a huge, but if you're at an estate sale and somebody's got like 3 or 4 taxidermy birds and they're only asking a couple bucks for them, pick those up. And if it's a big item, I mean, the fact that you could potentially make 10 grand on a buffalo head now makes me say like, okay, that might be worth dropping $1,000 on. Whereas before I would have, if someone's like, yeah, it's $800, I'd be like, oh man, yep, not doing that. So I need to do a little bit more research into how do I know what's what? How do I know if it's, you know, bone versus plastic, if it's what it, I know it's kind of a weird thing. And so again, if morally you can't handle it, stay away from it. But if you're thinking, hey, taxidermy, I'm definitely going to be checking it out. I'm going to be on the lookout.
I just wonder shipping and all that, you know, like obviously it works out. So I mean,
if it's something big, I'm sure it'd be a local deal.
I mean, there are some resellers on Instagram that have sold taxidermy before. So I don't know. All right. Well, mine is more of I think it's a sign of a downturn economy. I've lately been selling a lot of steel toe work shoes. So whether they be like electrician, like Doc Martens, or they be Timberland Pro for construction, alloy toe, steel toe, and they've been in rough shape. They've been like, you know, like they've been like somebody took a bat in the dirt and just beat it to heck. But people will still buy it. I mean, and you get it at a garage sale for like $1 and you sell it for $30. That's good money still. And so I've been selling a lot more of these recently, and I'm just like, I wonder if people, you know, are just like, hey, you know, because of inflation, I'm spending an extra $200 to $300 a month. Maybe I could, you know, save my family from, you know, because those Timberland Pros could be like $100-something brand new. Some of the Doc Martens that are like industrial ones could be like $100 or more. And so, you know, they'd rather go to eBay, drop 50, 60, maybe even $80 is cheaper than having to pay, you know, full retail at a site. Or maybe it's not available. Maybe there's still supply chain issues. So keep an eye for steel toe work boots. And they don't have to be boots. It could be, you know, low shoes too. But Timberland Pro and Doc Martens, I find those to be very good. All right, before we start wrapping things up, we got to mention our other Bellow, AmericanBubbleBoy.com. Yeah. And so, you know, I just recently, I needed some more bubble wrap. It came in time. And again, I speak about that. I need to bring it into the podcast next time, the 4-foot roll.
It won't fit on the, it won't fit in the frame.
It won't. Yeah. But, you know, when I saw that train set, it was just nice to just put it, you know, on the roll and just wrap around it. Yeah, right.
Roll it.
Instead of having to like Frankenstein a bunch of random bubble wrap from a small roll. I sold a mixer. I had to use it for a mixer. It's just nice. Along with the free 2-day shipping or same day, pickup if you live nearby. And it's a great price. So if you haven't checked them out yet, it's AmericanBubbleBoy.com. If you're a first time buyer, our promo code is PureSoulPodcast. And thank you to all of you who've been supporting us. It's been great. Our numbers obviously have dipped because, the more we do this, now it's just first time listeners that are like, oh, hey, I haven't heard of American Bubble Boy. But if you haven't tried them out, definitely try them out. It's definitely worth your time. AmericanBubbleBoy.com, promo code PureSoulPodcast.
Yeah.
All right. So what are you looking forward to?
I am looking forward to listing. I'm not. I hate listing. It's one of my least favorite things. But we had several sales. Like we went almost a week without any sales, and part of it is because we just haven't been listing. But then sales have started to come in again, even without listing. And so my wife needed some help in our shed because she does most of the packing and shipping. I do most of the sourcing and pictures. So it'd been a little while since I walked in the shed, and I walked in the shed and I'm just looking at my inventory and I look at my death piles and I'm like, man, I gotta get these listed. And I'm almost remembering because sometimes it's nice. I go in there, I've got solar lights to set up. I have to turn on a generator if I need the air conditioning, but right now I don't need air conditioning. And I walk in my shed and sometimes I should turn on some music and just spend an hour in there taking pictures, to decompress, to get away from the grind of work and all the craziness. And so I'm like, man, I need to spend a couple hours in this shed. It's kind of
Therapeutic.
Yeah, it's kind of therapeutic in a sense. It's almost cathartic. It helps you to get some of your emotions out and just kind of get into a rhythm where you're almost doing something mindless and can listen to a podcast or listen to some music. So I'm actually excited for the first time in a long time to go take some pictures, get some listings up, and hopefully get some more sales coming in.
All right. So I have the exact same thing I was supposed to do last update episode.
You haven't got to 3K yet?
No, I told you I was at 2,900. I should be at 3K by next update. No problem.
If I heard how many I should be at 3K, I think it's since we started the podcast.
Yeah, I know, but I'm there. I'm at 2,900 something. If I don't make it, it's just because I'm lazy. There's no other, rationale behind it. Because I have about, I want to say at least 80 items dropped off to my helper. Okay. And then I myself have about 200 to 300. If I take the time, I should be able to make it, right? Without even having to go sourcing. On top of that, it's the taxes that I got to tell you, I hate prepping for taxes.
Yeah.
We hate it.
We did all of our taxes. We do ours through TurboTax. We did it all, but we're waiting on a document. Actually, IRS just released it and TurboTax hasn't updated their system with the new document. So it's going to take another almost month before TurboTax updates theirs, which I'm so mad about because of all of the child credits and all of those things. And because of the stimulus checks, we had one of our children were born in the middle of the year. And so technically he gets stimulus checks that we didn't get. And so we actually, for the first time in a long time, have some money coming back to us. And we were able to write off enough through eBay and all of those things. So I'm like, yes, we finally have money coming back. We can use this money. And now because the IRS is taking so long to do, I don't think we're going to see our refund until the fall.
I overpaid last year and they still haven't paid me back. It's been a year.
See what I think with that, if you are late paying the IRS, they charge interest. If the IRS is late paying you, it's sorry.
I know. I should get extra money.
Yeah. Give me the money plus the inflation that I lost from the time that you owed me the money originally.
It's just so obnoxious. But the thing I hate is so I've always said this, be organized from the beginning, because the larger of a seller you become, there's a lot more that's tied into it. Right. And I do have somebody that, runs, make sure I have everything and we put it all together. But mileage is something you should always be tracking. Again, please don't message us for tax advice. We're just going to say, hey, go check out this tax person over here. Not your dad's CPA or something like that. The mileage, the one thing is, my Amazon, this Q4, I had a lot of items I did not sell during Q4 and I didn't sell until January, February. So those, I can count as inventory that did not sell. And so I've had to calculate that. And, there's just a lot. There's times that, man, Apple sometimes, if you have too much stuff on your phone, they offload apps and they don't tell you. So there's a few times that some apps that were tracking certain things didn't work.
Oh, see, that's why everybody loves Apple. It's so great.
I know. So anyways, there's just a lot of things here and there. And so the way I look at when I do my taxes is I'm making money by finding every deduction possible. Right. There's some people that are like, hey, you shouldn't brag about not paying taxes. I don't know. I think people should get medals for being able to figure out, like, you know, hey, this is money that I actually used for my business. And so therefore, you know, I shouldn't be counted against for using this.
Yeah, it's a
know?
weird thing. Like, people almost look at you as greedy for trying to write things off taxes. But the reality is, I don't understand how it's greedy to want to keep the money that you made.
I agree. And help your family, you know, like, so this is why I like spending the time, because I find that every single time I'm able to find something, I'm getting back money that I would have lost. So if you look at it that way, it makes it a little bit easier. I'm finding better motivation now to get after this and get it done, at least by the end of March, so I can file by the 15th of April, unless they extend it. So who knows? Anyways, I hate ending on a note about taxes, but here's the thing. I hope all of you are having incredible sales. I'm hoping that, you know, you're able to get on consistent listing every day or make those sales happen. And as always, make sure to be real,
Be relevant,
and be reselling. Peace.